Good afternoon, guys. It's me, 𝐒𝐜𝐴𝐡, and today we still continue our quest to Schliemann Gambit and Schliemann Gambit jungle, let's say. And today I'm going to show you a very short game, but game has some interesting point inside. And I'll try to actually, remind you the previous lines. So we'll still talk about one of the main lines in the Schliemann Gambit's road. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention my game against Josh Friedel from 2010. We played at the Concord tournament. So we had some kind of history with Josh, and Josh is a very great player, very strong player. And once I told him, if I play you black, I'll try to still play Schliemann, because Schliemann used to be playing by Josh when he was very young. And he was saying, come on, playing Schliemann is bad. So I said, you know what, I'll try, we'll see. So we had this kind of, short friendly discussion, and finally I got black pieces against Josh. In fact, it's funny, I never played Josh for our whole, history. We played many, many tournaments together, but I never met him. It was actually our first meeting, our first play. So we had this position. And as we discussed in our first introduction and my game against Jack Peters as well, one of the main moves here, Queen E2. In fact, I never discussed about this before, but I have to tell you something. If you've been playing this line as a black, I have to tell you about the move Knight takes F6, which also possible way for white to play with. And here I just show you the lines, what you do as a black. So you obviously take here by Queen. And typically here white has two moves to make. They do either castle king side or they do Queen E2. So against castle queen side, I would suggest you to play Knight D4. Knight D4, my opinion, is the best move to play. And if white takes on D4, you take on D4. They made a check. You play bishop E7. They're trying to stop your castling to king side by playing Queen E2. You do here C6, and usually white do here bishop D3, and here usually black prefer to play two moves. Even theory says this is like more accurate. I still believe this is fine. What's going on here? D5, B3. Otherwise, white has some issue to develop the C1 bishop, and here it's very famous trick comes up. When you do castle king side. So what's going on? Well, first of all, it's a very well known drawish line when you do bishop h3, and white has no checks, and if you take, then we have perpetual. Difference why this d5 move called some kind of inaccuracy, some kind of not the best, because of the move here, rook g1, and when you do here, rook e8, if white wants to play for win, they have this trick by playing queen f8 check. And now what's going on? If you take by rook, I have bishop a3, with attacking the rook and connecting my rooks and threatening g8. If you take by queen, white has moved rook f1, and with idea to play g8, pick up the bishop. Well, what can I say? Even this position, by my opinion, completely unclear. I've been playing this for a few times because this bishop is kind of still bad, and because the white king on g2 is still kind of weak. And if you play bishop b2, c5, black definitely has big compensation. And I think in general, overall, they fine. But again, guys, if you're kind of scared of playing this kind of imbalanced situation, you can try to play here. As I said before, you can try to play here d6. Now you see the point. The point to shut down this diagonal, making sure white bishop will never have jump on a3. It means if white played b3, then you do castle, then you do this, and then you do this. And now white doesn't have, if they play rook g1, now they lost, because after rook a8, they can't take on f8, because it's a pointless, because now if they take on f8, I guess you can play simply here, and now there is no bishop a3 attack, since the pawn d6 shutting down this diagonal, and it means white need to play here gh, and I think after here pretty much we have perpetual. So that's what it is. You could play all these moves and decide if you want to continue to play for a win. You could play d5 and provoke your opponent to take on f8 and play that imbalance, which I told you before. But if you're happy with the draw result, then you can play simply d6, making sure the c1 bishop will never have this access to this diagonal, and make a draw by perpetual. So this is about this short line castle king side. Again, castle king side, I'm going to remind you the move is knight d4. Yeah, this is the move to go. Many years ago, when I just started to play this line, I think one of my first international experiences was back to 1990. I played the tournament in Bela Crkva in Yugoslavia at that time. So one of my first experience, my opponent played here. I played against Belarusian Grandmaster Kovalev, and he tried knight takes d4, which is interesting as well. I mean, the main line, and he played here right away b3. And now the difference is, when you play these situations against these kind of checks, you can always play king d8. It's very important for you to understand. No more bishop e7, nothing. This is very well known, very common situation when black reacting that way. And after this, basically your setup, it's very simple. You do bishop d6, this guy runs here on c7, then you play bishop d7, connect your rooks, and try to attack king side, because as you see, you have plenty of time to attack, and it looks like black absolutely fine, maybe more than fine. And my game, I believe, went c4, and after this, rook f8, queen e2, I played dc, and I think I managed to get better position, and the reason why, I just show you quickly the moves. f3, I played c5, and I think bishop c5, yeah. So the only reason, even final position, I thought I'm better, but we agreed for draw because we both went to the time pressure, and situation tournament was no one wanted to risk because we've been playing well in that tournament, and we agreed for draw. But again, the position is completely fine, and in fact, I believe the game could be improved a lot by black. So in general, what you must remember, just remember up to the point when I played king d8 in this position, making sure you don't mix up the move orders. So if white played b3 instead of rook e1 check, then you can play, again, you can play c6, any move, you can play d5, and now on check you're reacting by playing king d8. That's the idea, that's the difference. What else could be mentioned here? Yeah, I think in general that's what it is. That's regarding castle king side move. Also, you must remember the way when white trying to pick up the pawn, queen e2. Now, what's going on? You must play here bishop e7, and we have here bishop c6, and we have here either knight takes e5 or queen takes e5. So against queen takes e5, I've been playing this for a few times as well. I think black getting like very strong play if they play here bishop g4. And as you see, we have here two bishops. My advice to you guys, whoever will play this line, don't try to rush and take on f3 ASAP. because sometimes when you take on f3 quickly, even if you could take the pawn back, but white could, let's say, organize themselves. So you try to keep tension, and if you have a chance to make castle queenside, always do so. Why? Because immediately you create the pressure on d3, on b2. Here, as you see, white has some issue to develop. And here black definitely has strong initiative for insufficient material, and I'm sure they have full compensation for the pawn. Two bishops plus open lines, I think it's fine for black to play. This is good, and I think last I have to show you here, it's move knight takes e5, on which my advice to play here move bishop f5. Idea to slow down white and play here d3, then you do castle, typically castle, here, yeah, this type of position you are going to get if you play this line. And again, we have here opposite color bishops, black down the pawn, but they again fine. You could play rook d8. What's your plan? What's your setups? I played this position against many years ago, back to 1996, against Josef Dorfman. You could play here h5 at some point to make sure g4 never happens. You could even consider sometimes to push and push, forcing white pawn to stand on g3 and controlling odd light squares. I would like to push my pawns, if I could, to have my pawns like that, like in Berlin. Why? Because maybe at some point I will consider to relocate my bishop on this diagonal and simply play for mate. So all these lines, I'll tell you my advice, it's not about being down the pawn, it's about how good is your bishop. So only I can tell, you know, white, I would say, still kind of better if they know how to play these positions, but black absolutely fine as well, because they have compensation. They have compensation. It's like a plus equal, but not much, not much. Whites need to prepare a g4. They have to know how to prepare g4. They play like bishop e3, h3, king h2, rook g1. I mean, it's still a long game. It's still a long game, and statistics showing black usually getting good results here. And I've played this position for a few times, and I have no losses yet. So I think it's fine to play. So you can simply play this, trust me. I think we have pretty much done this alliance with move 6, knight takes f6. If I miss something, you're welcome to remind me, and I'm going to cover in my next Schliemann session. But I think I cover pretty much main roads. Well, I'm not going to say something like about d3, which is silly. After d5, and black is absolutely fine. Again, guys, you're welcome to put all your comments if I missed something here. So I'm going to get back to my game against Josh Friedel. Getting back to idea queen e2. So finally we reach our main position in line queen e2 on move 6. So you saw my game against Perostine when Eugene took on c6. You would see my game against Jack Peters when Jack went kind of all in by capturing on f6. So this time I'm going to show you line number 3 when white plays here e6, allowing black to play here knight e5. And that's the trickiest way to play bishop f4. Bishop f4, very tricky way, very tricky move. Many years ago, I lost to a friend of Josh, Brother Bourneville, and I had a terrible tournament at US Open in Los Angeles. I think it was 2003. When I played c6, well, I didn't know who is Braden, and I played c6 on the main move, and he surprised me by capturing on e5. I think I could play, I mean, I could have some kind of draw, but I've been playing I think Brendan was at that time some kind of 2250 guy maybe. So obviously I was trying to play for win, and I lost the game. In fact, he deserved to beat me because he played very well game. So after that game, I kind of stopped playing this move order, and I analyzed basically this position, and I came up with idea to play very simple move. Well, thanks God we have right now too many engines, and that's how they're helping us. And I think it was creation of Ripke at that time, and now we can say creation of Houdini. Houdini came from this line, and now I'm absolutely confident. I played a few times, all draw. I mean, no worries. Queen d6. It's important move to make. Again, Josh played here castle king side. I think after the game we analyzed together. I'm not sure exactly our analysis, but we came to conclusion castle and queen side actually was better try. But this is kind of safer. Well, again, knight d4 must be played. Otherwise, this square will never be occupied. So I guess knight d4 is a pretty natural move to play. c6, it's really important for me to make sure my bishop will have go back on d7 without being trading for now, and that's the reason why I played here. I'll tell you what, basically if you have let's say weak squares such as f5, you worry about that square not being occupied by knight, not by bishop. By knight is more annoying. Especially knight on f5, it could, attack it here. Could be very strong piece. That's why I want to play c6. I don't mind if he will take on e6, and I play this position because this is okay. This is actually absolutely fine. So again, the point of playing c6, it's actually to make sure my pawns are connected. Plus, I'm trying to make sure my bishop on e6 could have escape on d7. Or actually, I'm trying to make sure my pin situation could be resolved by playing queen d7, and my knight will be free. So here, if he takes on e6, I'll take on e6. I'm absolutely fine immediately. Again, as I said before, in general, when you deal with this kind of square on f5 as a weak square, you worry about not having his knight there. So that's the reason why I played c6, and bishop d3, I played queen d7. Again, kind of overlooking for f5 square, and freeing my knight, staying away from the pin. And looks like now black solved all the issues. White plays here rook fe1, and after rook fe1, I took on d3, queen takes d3, rook fe8. Very similar way I played against Peterson, if you remember. So now I'm, let's say, looking for f5 square, making sure, again, knight will never get on f5. And after rook fe8, I'm also preparing this bishop to jump on f8 and have this diagonal. As you see, I think I have mentioned that in my lecture against my game against Peterson. I'm not considering to play here f5 because I'm not going to give away dark squares, and I'm not going to put this bishop in jeopardy of being like completely shut down. So since f pawn belongs to f6, I have to improve my bishop by playing bishop f8, c3, and finally I played here bishop f7. And here I thought I reached complete equality, and since troop situation was okay to me, I think I was, I mean, we both were fine, and I had offered draw to Josh, which he took it, but I think position is completely equal. Black has absolutely no problem. I'm trying to relocate my bishop to stay on g6, so it looks like white has to play here something like that. And if you check my game against Peterson, you will see similarity. Typically, I'm going to trade the rooks, and then at some point maybe consider to take on f5. So it looks like this is absolutely fine for black, and that's the reason why I had offered a draw, which has been accepted by my opponent. Again, guys, let's kind of summarize this line. So I'm going to mention one more time. Line absolutely playable, line absolutely fine. Keep playing this line. Make sure you choose knight f6. Again, it's my personal opinion. Some people maybe didn't like it, but I can tell I played both lines, d5 and knight f6 on move 5. My personal opinion, knight f6 is way better move than d5. So if any questions, any concerns, you're welcome to write me a personal email or put some comments. I'll try to find some time to answer to all your problems, all your concerns. So good luck, and in our next lecture we will continue still talking about playing Schliemann. Until next time.